show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on JTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. In studio with me is no one that is strange to this set. Dr. Mike Turnbull has been here time and time again and will continue to be here as the need arises. We're in a season when it's time to get back to school, Dr. Mike, and there is so many things that we need to look at in terms of getting prepared. I called you up when I was looking at the international news at the time, and, they were having this discussion about challenges that teachers are likely to face as students return to schools, and more so when a certain age group now goes over to a new school for some time. I'm like, you know what? That very issue is what our teachers are going to be facing here. So how do we help? How do we play a part in helping them?
Well, Kathy, at first I want to say thank you for having me on The Big Story. And you've always been a pillar of understanding what the community needs at the right time. So I want to thank you for your social consciousness that you continue to present. Back to school happens. Most schools open by the 9th. All schools will be open. Some schools are opening on Monday coming. And we are looking forward to a great school year. I was really inspired when on this past Monday that the Ministry of Education had a vendor forum at the complex, and the energy of the teachers was just so invigorating. It was palatable. So the teachers are ready, they're excited. They had even a fashion show towards the end. I mean, they were just getting prepared. So we're looking forward to what the teachers throughout the Virgin Islands will offer. But that is not without making sure that all of us are prepared for these transitions, to transition from summer to school. That means from transitioning from free time to structure, transitioning from one grade to another, whether it's 4th to 5th grade, or from primary to secondary.
Or even from pre
to exactly. It's a lot of transitions. So I'm happy that you talked about it, and we are talking about this because transitions are important. And if you have a failed transition, it could take that child a whole year to recover. So there are things that parents and teachers can do, but I want to really concentrate on the parental home first, that they can do to help with the transition. So one of the first things that they can do, Kathy, is making sure they have a conversation with their children, whether it's this weekend or whenever the weekend before school starts. If the weekend before school starts or 2 weeks before school starts, if ideal, you tell your children, well, there are going to be some changes in terms of your TV time. There's going to be changes in terms of your internet access, your phone access. There are going to be expectations. You should start to adjust their bedtime. You should start to adjust what time they wake up before school starts. It's almost like give them a week before to let them know how things are going to be. Start waking them up like it's going to have school. It just gets their body and mind ready that a transition is about to happen. It's better to plan prior than just waiting on the morning of school when the day before, 2 days before, they were going to sleep at 12 and waking up at 10, 11. It's going to be a shock. So then you have that child going into school in a grumpy mood, not feeling like they're prepared, and you're just catching up because school starts, the teachers are ready. So you're going to have work coming home, and it's best for you to adjust your schedules early.
Okay, so I want to interject right here. While we try to encourage parents to do X, Y, and Z, many lack the skills, many lack the know-how. There are instances, they will hear Dr. Mike saying, talk to them about this, talk to them about. and the way in which it is being set, these conversations take, not conversation, well, instructions in many cases. You know, it's time for go to school tomorrow, so I gotta be ready.
Yeah.
And it is that attack that comes to that child, and the first reaction you will get is a rebellion because it's not friendly
or fair.
So
that's why we're saying, Kathy, like for parents to prepare themselves first. Like in all honesty, I'm a father of 3, my wife and I. Like we've enjoyed not having to wake up and drop kids, because our kids go to Sydney and Virgin Gorda, for example. They have to catch the 7:15, 7:45 boat.
Oops.
That means we have to be leaving home at minutes to 7. By 6 o'clock, we have to be getting there. I've enjoyed not having to do that for the last couple of weeks. So as parents, you also have to prepare. So you deal with your anxiety, your frustration, and your anger, and don't bring that to your child. And you may have parents now who are frustrated or worried about are they prepared? They may be having some financial challenges, so they may not get all the back-to-school supplies. They may feel ashamed. They may be upset with an uncooperative co-parent partner or friend or so, and they are frustrated. So now they bring, I just can't deal with this, and they said, just go get ready. And just like what you said, and now the child who is looking forward to school, imagine, they'll be like, this is what I have to deal with for the next 10 months. So parents should just take a step back. Know that whatever you can do is the best that you can do. If you can't afford the school supplies, there's so many great initiatives happening throughout the community from churches that are promoting back to school supplies, so you can give back and get something that you need. It's not a shame, so your child can be prepared. You take the ease and pressure off yourself, so that conversation is a conversation, not an argument, because you don't want to set that up. And as you say this, as simple as it may seem, from 0 to 8, children from 0 to 8 years old, that early childhood, that most impressionable age for children, it is important what happens the first hour when they wake up.
We are in that era where their company and parents are happy for it because it eases them. That instructional guidance is the gadgets they have. Parents are talking to kids and they just shut them out. Sometimes they have these devices that they have, the earbuds or whatever. You can't even see it really. So a parent didn't even realize that, are you listening to she really, you know?
And so what I will encourage for early childhood, and even that first hour when your child wakes up, you set that routine. And that means parents, you have a job. Being a parent is one of the hardest jobs in the world, if not the hardest job in the world. So you have to wake them up, but you can't wake them. You've overslept. So now your anxiety and you're rushing, so you're rushing them, and now the morning starts in a rush. That child now goes to school, and now they're off kilter. They have to try to redeem this, and they had a bad day. But that day had exams, they had a quiz, and now they feel bad. They don't do well on the test. Now they bring a bad grade home. Now you're fussing them with a bad grade. Now they don't feel good about themselves, and this cycle of low self-esteem and efficacy continues. It just starts. You plan, make sure you wake up a half an hour before your kids are supposed to get up. So you have some level of peace and center. So now you wake your kids up in a healthy, non-provocative environment. Now, I understand kids are not perfect. You may wake them up in the nicest way, and then guess what? They fall back to sleep.
Sleep, mommy.
So exactly, they go back to sleep, and now you're frustrated because your boss or people are giving you a hard time at work. So you have to have a consistent communication. That's another thing I want to emphasize. You might have a great preschool start back conversation, but the conversation needs to continue throughout the week, throughout the months. You have to check in. You cannot just think that you put all these great strategies in place at the beginning of the year and not check back in. Because your child is going to have different interactions, and because they're so young, they change so much throughout the school year that you have to keep checking in.
So let's talk about the teachers.
Yes.
Now that child, let's say coming in from preschool into primary school, or moving from primary school into secondary school, they are so latched on to their devices. When they get into a controlled environment where they have no access to these devices, they lash out in various ways.
Yes.
Teachers find hell to try to get them to sit, focus. They have challenges even relating to their peers, because normally the peer is a device, a gadget. They don't have those skills to communicate in a classroom, so you get a lot of trouble there.
So World Mental Health Day, that has passed, concentrated on the stresses of being interconnected in modern society. They're thinking about transitioning that of internet use and this as an addiction, because it is literally causing significant stress in the lives of children, that they don't know how to have simple social interactions because their phones and devices have replaced simple social skills of sharing, this conflict resolution, and that attachment that a device becomes their friend, to now where they go into school, the teacher now has to break them away from that. So for the teachers, which I know teachers have been going through so many different transitions, you could continue to educate yourself in the first moment of school, and the great teachers throughout the BVI I know are doing this already, but especially those transitionary years, the first day of school, I remember the first day of school is maybe one of the most important. It's not as important to tell them what the grades are going to be, what this and other, but that you taking that first class period, those first moments, whether it's 15, 20, 30 minutes, or if they're older, that whole class period, to set the expectation for your class. And create a conversation with the students based on their age, appropriate conversations of the level of conversations, and asking them how and what they want from the class. Now, if it's the younger kids, when we did our summer camp, we had an amazing teacher who's now a principal in public schools. She used to do at the beginning of class for the younger kids. These are kids 8 and under.
Okay.
Every time they came in, she stood at the door and she did an emotional check-in. Each of them had to they had a circle prepared, and you drew whether it's a smiley face, upside down face, or angry face. She did that every morning to almost 20 kids. Now, what that emotional check-in does, it allows you to see where the temperament of each child is to help them. And guess what? If a child draws an angry face, especially, it is your duty to ask them what has happened. Yes, it may take 5 minutes out of your class schedule. However, if you don't check in, you don't know what's going on, that child then throws a tantrum and has a fight with their classmate. Now that takes 30 minutes out of your class schedule. So teachers checking in early, emotional check-ins is what we call them, and I'm sure a lot of them are familiar with that. Being prepared, teachers also making sure that they protect their mental health and well-being, to understand that some of the problems and things that they're going to go through are not just their own, that these kids are having a myriad of problems, and try not to internalize or personalize what is happening, but try to be the best aid possible. And with these devices, we could use them not only just as a reward, but and I know a lot of schools have incorporated technology, but using them in a way that they become helpful, and using them in a way that they help educate and push education. So their phone or their computer not just becomes a source of another screen for entertainment, but a way to grow their knowledge. Maybe we start to introduce robotics, and as they have done this past summer, and we start to continue to let them know that they could do coding, that they could be productive. I remember when I was growing up, the older gentleman in the community said, I don't care what kind of phone I have. It could be the newest or the oldest. But I know when my phone rings, it's business. So you teach them that this device could be helping or it could be harming. Unfortunately, because of capitalism and people wanting to sell things and sell agendas, phone has become a way to institute knowledge that is not helping build up our children. So teachers can also use the phone to educate of how these devices can help and harm. You know, being creative. The best teachers are the teachers that are not afraid to explore the difficult topics, but use themselves and their environment to help do that. And that makes it fun for everybody involved.
Nice, nice. There is the other group of children that we need to speak to. We were there once.
Yeah.
We are high teens, and
Yeah.
our parents rely on us to pick ourselves up and get out. From quite a number of these high teens, I call them high teens.
Yeah.
There is no parental pressures when it comes to getting up and getting out for school. Most times by the time they are up, their parents are already gone to school, probably just left some instructions for what they'll take for breakfast, and rely on them to get to school on time.
Yeah.
But yet that parents every week has to get a call from school, listen, XYZ. But I leave no big set of work or anything for this child to do. It's just up all night on a device and not waking up early enough in the morning to get to school.
As I said, parenting is a hard job. So these high teens, the kids, the teenagers that are about to launch in, because that's another transition. Although they may think what their parent doing is mean, that, oh, well, mom has to go to work at 5 or 6, so she can't be there at 8:30 to drop you off because our dad has a construction job, or so they can't do this. So they're now at your 14, 15, 16, that age, those high teens, your level of responsibility and expectation. So first is that parent's job to keep educating, letting them know why their role is important. But also give them a little leeway on the weekend so they don't become too parentalized, meaning that they don't feel like they don't have a childhood, because that's a balance. So first you have to balance that, because now they're 14, they're making sure their 5-year-old and 7-year-old brother or sister who is maybe not cooperative gets to school, make sure they has their lunch, get all that. And by the time they get to school as a 14, 15-year-old, they have done so much more than most people in the community. So you have to find that balance. But also that giving that child the understanding that what they're doing is preparing them for the next stage. As you've taught Kathy so brilliantly in this conversation, from preschool transition to primary transition to high school transition, high school to college. Because when you get to college, those same things that you need, because there's another group that's transitioning, those high teens transition to their first day of college was a couple days ago here at HLSCC. And it is something when you go there, and nobody's going to be calling you, reminding you about grades. No one is going to be telling you, oh, you are now responsible totally for your education.
Wow.
Yes, you might have professors that will impart, but it is responsible. And then when you transition from HLSCC to go wherever abroad to finish your education, those people don't know who your mom or dad is. And so those things, you have to understand that each phase should prepare you to launch to the next stage. And what we're talking about, making sure we have successful transitions in between. So the things of communication, constant communication, preparation, understanding personal responsibility. But there's something that we have to be okay with at all these stages. Allowing our children to fail. Allowing them to fail. We have to allow our children to fail.
I've been saying this over and over and over. We have to put the energy that we teach our children how to succeed, that same energy, teach them how to fail. Because we're destroying our kids.
Exactly.
When all we're doing is telling them to succeed, when we know so well that life is no easy road and failure is a major part of life.
Failure is maybe one of the best teachers in life. Because if you are a parent and you're in these high teens and you are doing every project, every set of homework, everything, you're leaving work to make sure they get to school on time.
You don't want your money go down the drain.
You don't, because you don't want your child to repeat the grade. Well, I'm not talking with children that have educational disabilities or learning issues. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the child who has the potential, but is just choosing the path of least resistance. But they care about going along with their friends. They want to go to the next grade. And you don't want them embarrassed. But guess the most important thing. If they repeat a grade, they will never repeat a grade again.
Okay. Exactly.
And although there is some shame for you because as a parent that your child repeated, you have to take away and not take it personally. I've seen so much at our practice and in this community that we've had young men and women that their parents said, you know what? If they fail, they fail. And that child had to deal all summer. Now, in the failure, it's important what to do. Don't say, oh, you're nothing, you're never going to be nothing, you failed because you done. No, that.
You're a disappointment.
Those things will now crush that child and then change the trajectory of what a failure could bounce to success. They will now internalize that and will just stop trying. The conversation is, however you do it, you failed. How do you feel about it? This and another. Well, if you don't want to fail like this again, this is what we have to do. And it's not my job anymore. It is your job.
Yeah.
You're now at the age where these things, the consequences of your actions, rest on you. I will provide your home, shelter, food, all the things, and time to encourage you. But there's some stuff now that you have to do. You have to get up. You have to do your homework. You have to check Power School or wherever, Google Classroom, to make sure your assignments are done. I will check maybe once a week, but this is your responsibility. And that child, if they get it, the message right, they will say, I never want to fail again.
Exactly. And they might say, even ask questions. It's like, you could even ask that child questions. How you think I can help?
Exactly.
How you think your
use the
peers
failure
can help?
to educate, to see what didn't go right, and then augment that so it becomes a failure, becomes a bouncing board for success. Because guess what? That failure in 8th, 7th, 9th grade or whatever grade it is, that child will remember that. And guess what? You will now have a budging Virgin Islander who will go out into the community and say, I don't want to fail at life anymore.
Yes.
I know how failure feels, and I'm going to try as best as I can to never experience that again. And so now that allows them a bouncing board for success.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. And you know, these conversations can go on
Yes.
for hours, but we want them to absorb that
Yes.
which was said. If needs be, we'll come again at some point during the new school year. But thank you so much
Thank
for sharing.
you.
But I want to give you that opportunity to speak to that child directly, speak to that parent directly, speak to that teacher directly.
You know, Kathy, again, thank you so much in the Big Story for the platform. You know, I'm a father of 3. My wife and I understand now that raising children is the hardest job in the world. There's so many different challenges from left and right. But we believe in you. We can do this together. So when you don't know, ask a question. Don't be too prideful. When your child needs assistance, there's so many community providers, and ask them. We are in this together. I believe that this year could be the most amazing school year. Ask the right questions. Become a partner with your school. Make sure you're there at the PTAs. Join. Pop up at your child's school. Show your presence and show your support. Have meetings at home and encourage. Be a family. Let's start this cohesion at home. It may not be everybody else's family. You may not have everything everyone has. But what you have is that intangible love to push your child to the next level. And that security, that honesty and communication will see you and your child and the teachers throughout this Virgin Islands coming together to have the most amazing school year.
Awesome. I don't think it could be ever said better than that. Thank you so much for taking the time out to encourage everyone as we go into this academic year. We'll have you back again because there's so many other things that we need to talk to. We need to keep the conversation going when things, like you said, as it relates to going back to school, consistency. Sometimes every time you come on here is when someone is reminded of, you know, what I can do, or they're more motivated to do what they know that they're supposed to do. So we'll keep the conversations going. And as you go into the academic year 2024, 2025, we wish you every success. And I want to leave this with us as a community. Yes, we rely on parents to do what they have to do. Yes, we rely on teachers to do what they have to do. But what do we do as a community? There may be that child that is crying out for a little help, and you can, please help that child. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Big Story.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Are you searching for new home decor items that reflect the season's latest trends? Look no further than Right Way Home. From cushion sets to decorative vases, we have unique pieces to suit every style and budget. Discover your right find at the right price, only at Right Way Home and Right Way Stores.